Why would you possibly spend 5 times the amount of money to do essentially the same thing while washing your car? Today we are talking about pressure washer guns, foam cannons. We're going to be comparing the most expensive on the market to essentially the cheapest you can find on Amazon. Welcome back and let's jump into it. As always, guys, before we jump into today's video, I want to let you know this is absolutely not a sponsored piece of content. I purchased all of these with my own money in hopes to give you a full unbiased review and for me to get to check out new products and new tools. I always think that is very fun to do. So this cheap versus expensive series that I have started doing, I think is really intriguing. Myself as a professional detailer, I tend to buy not necessarily always in the chemical realm, but really a lot of the times in the tool realm, the most expensive out there. My kind of feelings behind that, and this is not always true, is most of the time, the more money you spend to get the more premium product, likely the longer it's going to last. Now, that has not always been true. I've definitely spent a lot of money on tools and products and things like that that aren't really worth the money. But this is a series because of the feedback from you guys that I wanted to start doing. I wanted to start playing and seeing what's actually out there and kind of seeing how it would fit into a detailing arsenal for DIY enthusiasts, weekend warriors that enjoy keeping their car clean. So I was searching on Amazon the other day and I actually came across this Tool Daily pressure washer gun and foam cannon kit, and I could not believe how cheap it was. And I said, I got to purchase this for a video because I spend a ton of money over here on my MTM foam cannon and pressure washer gun setup, like a ridiculous amount of money when you compare it to the price over here. So I actually picked this up on an Amazon Prime Day for $31.99. Now, normal retail on this is $39.99. That includes, again, your pressure washer gun, as well as a foam cannon. It also comes with your pressure washer tips in here. We'll talk about a little bit more of that in the future here. But that's a crazy deal because over here for the MTM SGS 35 pressure washer gun, as well as the PF22 wide mouth foam cannon, you are spending north of $200 for this entire setup. So genuinely 5 times more expensive for this versus this over here. Now, first off, I think we should quickly talk about the image that professional detailers have. Now, I charge quite a lot of money for my details, and I personally think having tools that show that you are a professional and not purchasing something like this is probably the right way to go. I just have this thing of, a customer walks in and, they're spending thousands and thousands of dollars with me to perfectly detail and dial in their car. And I have the absolute cheapest foam cannon, cheapest pressure washer in the industry out there. I don't really think that's a good look. I love working with tools that are nice, are premium, have really nice features. We'll talk a little bit more about that throughout this video. But I also think I need to bring myself down to reality sometimes because you guys behind the camera watching this content aren't washing cars on a daily basis, not washing multiple cars on a daily basis. And there's actually some great deals, some great tools out there that you don't need to break the bank with. So Tool Daily is here. So let's check this out. Let's see what came with it. So starting off here, this is their pressure washer gun. Doesn't feel the most premium, but I don't think that's a bad thing for 40 bucks. Can you even complain about that? So we've got a pretty darn hard plastic shell on the outside. You can see we have what kind of looks like stainless steel, but my assumption is these are all brass with nickel plating on them in terms of basically the whole inner housing of this. Actually, foam or pressure washer guns, if you take them apart, unscrew all this, it's a very simple mechanism inside. There's really not much going on to them, but the shell on the outside feels pretty rigid. You've got these very cheap stickers, which I can literally just peel off if you don't want those. So that's kind of funny. But overall, I would say the build of this, completely fine for 40 bucks. Now over here, we move to our foam cannon. So you can see we have all brass up here. This fitting in here looks to be probably brass with nickel plating on it, not full stainless steel. Now, the reason you would want to go for something like stainless steel, it's going to last a whole heck of a lot longer. Brass does not rust, but it will actually corrode, and over time, these fittings can get really nasty over time. So I'm always a big believer when you're setting up a pressure washer to maybe spend the money for the stainless steel they just last a whole heck of a lot longer. But then again, on the flip side, if you're not washing every single day, I think you can probably get away with brass. I think you're gonna be okay there. But how this looks, not too bad, honestly. I believe you can get just this foam cannon for like $15.99, which is actually insane. So you can see this housing on the top. Yeah, feels pretty nice. We've got a nice tube in here, and then we have a hard plastic bottle. One of the biggest things you'll notice with this though, this doesn't have a wide mouth. So this can be a little bit annoying for filling up your soaps, things like that, for diluting all your solutions. But honestly, I think that's totally okay. So this is more of a twist on fitting here. Now, what also comes in the box with this, like I said earlier, all your pressure washer tips in here. First off, we've got our 40-degree tip. We've got our 25-degree tip here. We've got a 15 and our 0-degree. Now, it also comes with a soap one as well. I never really use those, of course. And then you have this connector situation going on here. Not honestly sure exactly what you're going to be doing here. And that's one of the things with this toolkit. So there's no way to really pre-purchase this to exactly go with your existing pressure washer setup. This is something that takes a little bit of time. Maybe I'll do a video on this of what I recommend for actually doing for all the fittings, things like that, your hoses. Takes a little time to figure out. So I actually had to go through and purchase this. So this is the pressure washer adapter set. This retails, I believe, right at 16 bucks, maybe it's 18 bucks, somewhere in there. So there is a little added cost here, but again, still way less than the MTM over here. So this is the M22 14 millimeter to 3/8 quick disconnect. So what's great about this is we can take our pressure washer gun over here. We'll screw this on the bottom, boom, get all of that set up, and then that is going to connect right to our hose. And then of course you have all your different pressure washer fittings here. Now, one of the things with this tool is they come with all the same size orifices on your actual pressure washer nozzles. Now, on the back of here, I'll bring a close up here, but this is a 40-degree tip with a 2.5 orifice. Now, this all plays into how your pressure washer setup works. So I quickly want to explain that. Now, typically when you shrink down the orifice, that means your pressure goes up, but you actually get less flow throughout your system, hence gallons per minute. Typically what we look for when pressure washing your vehicles, you want to go for around 1,000 PSI and as high as GPM you can get. So this on our current system is actually going to jack up the pressure as well as lower the GPM, kind of opposite what you want. Now this can always be an issue actually for your pressure washer depending on how much current it can actually draw. So really, if you're putting in something like a wall-mounted pressure washer, something like that, you always want to have a 20 amp dedicated circuit on that so that you're not using other things and you're not blowing that breaker. Sometimes, especially if you're using the wrong orifice, you can over amp it and it can just become a mess. So a few little situations there, that can probably be a whole video. There's some great resources online for that. Now, let's come over here to MTM and talk about why I have used these for genuinely years. So this is the SGS 35. This is the Aqua line. You'll see it in blue. This has all stainless steel fittings on it. And the stainless steel has never failed me. I have never changed out these actual fittings. I have used them for 6-7 years at this point now, which is genuinely insane. Now, the other great thing about this pressure washer nozzle gun down here, this is actually a rotation quick swivel on here, which is actually going to help you when you're running around the car with your hose. It's not going to get kinked up quite as much, which is something that this does not offer. You can probably adapt it to that. I'm sure there's some fittings out there you can find on Amazon, but this comes fully built in. So this gun right here, if you just want the gun, $120. That's a serious chunk of change. Again, our PF22 foam cannon over here, this is around 80 bucks, give or take. You can get a little more expensive, a little less expensive, depending on where you get it. Pretty insane to say the least. The other thing about this, it does actually not come with all of these little tips here. So what I have opted for here on my pressure washer, and what I typically use, 40-degree nozzle on this, and then I use a 4.0 orifice. That puts me right under 1,000 PSI and the highest GPM I can draw out of my Kranzla pressure washer. So you're genuinely going to be over $220 here. Now, the thing I will say about this all feels really sturdy, very high quality, very, very high end. You also have the ability to change out the orifice size in here to kind of dial it in for your pressure washer. I just leave the one that comes straight out of the MTM. It's totally fine. It actually comes with another one that's slightly smaller as well. You can play around for days and days and days, do the full obsessed garage thing and figure it out. But this has been my go-to. Now, the thing that I like that they actually changed very recently is making this a wide mouth. You also notice here, it's a very quick disconnect. Now, what I do here at the shop, because I'm a nerd, because I'm testing different products all the time, I've actually purchased 3 of these, one for alkaline-based snow foams, one for pH neutral, one for acid-based. Now, that would be way cheaper to spend all of this because I'm spending 80 bucks on each foam cannon here. But also the great thing is if you want to have different canisters down here, you can actually purchase these guys separate. I think they're about $6 for these. So if you drop it, crack it, damage it, you can just replace that without having to replace the whole thing. Over here, that is not a possibility. But again, this is cheap. If you drop this on the ground, you crack this canister, you can literally just buy a brand new one. You're not out that much money. In fact, it's like, I don't know, maybe half the price. This is half the price to get a new canister compared to an entire foam cannon over here, which is just insane. So I'm gonna be washing this Lexus LS500 behind us. We're just gonna compare the two. We're gonna use the foam cannons. I've already done a full test on this. I'm really curious though to see how these pressure washer guns work out, to see if this is a legit tool, if it's a piece of junk, anything in between. I'll definitely let you guys know. So we're gonna start off here with just a quick rinse using the Tool Daily pressure washer gun here. Now, first thing that I absolutely notice here is not having that swivel head on here. You'll notice naturally as I let this sit, the line is kind of slacked here and the gun is spraying this way. If I want to come over here, now I'm twisting all of this up. Now, over time, as you detail and wash vehicles, you'll understand why this becomes a little bit of a problem. As you're pulling a cable around the car and you're using this, you're moving it around, going up to this situation, this whole hose is actually pressurized. And when you actually get a curl in it, there's quite a bit of tension. If you go to undo that, then you're smacking it into the car. So having a swivel connector on here is very, very helpful. Again, I would hope that you can actually adapt it to this. I'm sure there's products out there to do that. That would make a huge, huge difference just with how this feels. Second thing I want to touch on here is our quick connects up here. This all feels honestly really, really nice. Now, I'm still going to continue to use my MTM 40 degree 4.0 orifice in here. They'll all fit exactly the same. But man, that's got a very nice click in it. Now, the only other thing I'll say for myself, which is a little bit of a negative, and this is not for everybody, this is just my opinion, I like a pressure washer gun that stands a little bit more upright. You'll see this angle here where the hose is coming down. What I notice here is that my wrist is twisted over a little bit more. This is a little less uncomfortable for me. It's honestly really not what I'm used to. The SGS 35 sits up a little bit more angled, so this isn't coming as far out the back. But as always, we're gonna start on the ground because you can cause some serious projectiles to happen here. If you just put this in here like this and don't get this fully locked down and spray it on the car, all that pressure, boom, you've got a projectile. So always make sure that's locked in. You start off the car and then come on to the car. Honestly, it feels really nice. The one big thing that I notice here, it feels very light in the hand, so it's not quite as heavy as the MTM, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. The trigger here, very, very nice. You've also got the locking mechanism here. If you need to lock that out for whatever reason, that works great. Honestly, pretty darn impressed with this little thing. For $40 to get this and a foam cannon, that's a big thumbs up from me. So let's switch over to the SGS 35. This thing just feels amazing in the hand. Again, as you'll notice here, how this stands. And again, as you'll notice this, how I can twist this around in whatever orientation possible, meaning that my cable relatively stays parallel to the car, if you will. So I'm not putting a bunch of kinks in it. I can bring this over, go down, and I'm not kind of fighting that cord quite as much as I would without it. So that is number one. Now the tips here, these are all their upgraded stainless steel orifices, nozzles, the whole situation here. These feel great, really nice and tight there, zero play in them. You can still twist this around. You will have to change O-rings just like with a Tool Daily one, so definitely make sure you keep those on hand as you put this in, put this out over time. You will wear out that O-ring. Very simple to replace. Take a pick tool out, get the right size, slap it back in, you're good to go. So here, feels great. Honestly, it feels very, very similar. This for me is more comfort oriented here. You'll notice this has quite a bit of play in it actually here, which is pretty interesting. I've had this gun for, man, it's got to be a year and a half now. I replaced my last one at 3 or 4 years just because it was so beat up. I am not the Obsessed Garage Matt Mormon guy who holds this 24/7. I throw this thing around, I drop it on the ground. It's been an absolute beast. Mine was just starting to look absolutely disgusting and I was like, okay, we need to replace this. But this has always just been my go-to. Feels great in the hand. But honestly, guys, I'm telling you, that for 40 bucks feels really, really nice. And you can accomplish the same exact thing here. You're just living with a little annoyances of having this. Again, I'm sure you can buy a $20 part that can swap on here and it's good to go. So very impressive there. Next, I just quickly want to show you the foam cannons. We're going to use the same dilution of soap, spray them on here, see how they feel, everything in between. All right, guys. So jumping over here to our foam cannon. So first thing I'll say about this, again, this is one of the cheapest you can find on Amazon at like $15.99. This whole thing for 40 bucks. There are a few things I don't love about this. This being that the bottle here is so extremely hard. I do have a feeling if you drop this, especially full of solution, you're probably going to crack this thing. Let's hope not, because it actually does feel pretty thick. So maybe that's not an issue. Again, they don't have replacement bottles, so you're probably going to buy an entire new foam cannon, which is not really a problem here. The other thing, just not having a wide mouth on here, having to grab a funnel gets a little bit more annoying to use, but I don't think that's really an issue. Up here, you have your dilution flow, so you can give it more water or more soap. Then the other thing here, your spray pattern on here. Now there is no way to actually do it horizontal like you can with the MTM. I don't honestly find myself ever using it horizontal. Some people do. I'm not really sure that's a huge issue there. So let's put this in. Honestly, the quick disconnects there feel really nice. Let's start down here. All right, so that is a pure stream. Let's open this bad boy all the way up. Great foam. There is nothing wrong with that. You can see while unpressurized, this will spin around. Same thing will happen with the MTM stuff. It feels totally fine. If I'm honest, there is a little play in here, so it does feel not the most tight. That'll happen though with connectors, and I'm pretty sure my MTM does that. There is absolutely nothing wrong with this. By the way, if you're wondering what soap I'm using here, Meguiar's Shampoo Plus, this is all you really need, genuinely. So, and as I'm spraying this here, you can really dial it in. Look at the soap coming off of here. I mean, if you're looking for a foam cannon, a pressure washer gun, there is absolutely nothing wrong with getting this. It's nice to have a few of those tiny little features of the MTM there. Again, this whole situation of twisting the hose around is a little annoying for me just because I'm used to it not being like that. There is absolutely nothing wrong with this. Great amount of foam here. Now, let's quickly rinse this off and we'll try out the MTM, see if we can notice any other big differences. All right, so I'm gonna twist this off here. Again, that's one of the things that is not as nice, not having the quick disconnect here, but there's nothing wrong with that. Now, on camera, I'm gonna show you guys, I'm taking the solution from here, pouring it right into my empty MTM one here, so that you guys don't think I'm trying to change anything, not adding more soap, nothing like that. I don't know. Y'all get into some crazy conspiracy theories. So again, here, boom, twist on, we're ready to go. Pretty darn nice here. Now we're already pressurized. Can put this in here. So there still is a little play here. Maybe I just don't notice that all the time, but same still amount of play, both on the tool daily on this. Again, this one I can twist over to horizontal or vertical here. I can really dial this in. I don't love to have mine fully open. I kind of like to just have a little bit less than that. So we'll go full open here. And then you can go down to. So I like it right about there. I think you would be like fighting hairs to say this is maybe slightly more soap. If anything, that could just be down to orifice size. Again, that's kind of one of the nice things though with this, is you can actually change the orifice in here. Maybe you can actually use the same orifices in these and kind of purchase one for this and swap it into the tool daily one. But yeah. Genuinely, there is very, very subtle differences here. Again, just being able to do that quickly and hot swap them, things like that is great. But again, you can also buy 3 of those if you want, be able to just have one full, boom, quick disconnect this one, swap on the next one. So really, really minute differences. They genuinely both feel very, very good. So let's wrap this video up, guys, and kind of give you my final thoughts, reiterate a few points throughout the video, and give you a final consensus. And I think my final consensus is there is a lot of people who have purchased stuff like this and 100% don't need it, because something like this you can go buy very cheaply on Amazon, will 100% work for you and will probably last a whole heck of a long time, being that you're not using it every single day like I'm doing here at the shop. So that's the big benefit here is, again, number one, the cost. I don't think this stuff feels the most premium. I'm not sure how this is going to last. I can tell you from using it today, I really expected it to be dripping and, you know, have some weird oddities with it. This thing works 100% fine. You change out the pressure washer tips on here to dial it into your pressure washer. You get yourself a nice quick disconnect and it feels genuinely 90-95% of the MTM stuff over here. Again, one of the biggest issues that I have with the actual gun here is not having a swivel connector on here. I'm sure somebody's going to comment on here, oh, it's 10 bucks on Amazon, here you go. Boom, Bob's your uncle. That's really nice. And again, I think with the foam cannon over here, my only real gripes is you can't replace the bottle, so you can't have multiple of them. This whole action of, you know, twisting this situation off is kind of annoying. The ability to have this tip over because it's not as wide of a base, okay. Small little things, having, you know, not a wide mouth on here, having to use some sort of funnel or something like that to fill up your dilutions. Okay, I really think we can get over that for 40 bucks. Again, the reason I think you would purchase something like MTM is the ability to have products that are going to last the test of time. I can 100% tell you, I beat the ever-living hell out of both of these products. I drop my foam cannons, I throw this thing on the ground, right on the tips, they don't break. I beat the snot out of these things day in, day out. They just work every damn time. And that's why I use these here at the shop. Okay, yes, it's nice to have, you know, the most premium foam cannons and pressure washer guns and things like that. I am proud of having stuff like that. I want to show my customers that I care about what kind of tools, what kind of products I use on their vehicle. I think that's part of being a professional detailer and not just trying to find the cheapest solution out there. But on the flip side, if you're a DIY enthusiast, a weekend warrior, this is a very, very good toolkit over here. Really impressed with it. Again, small quality of life things. It's not worth 5 times more to get this if you're just using it for that, but I have to be able to rely on these tools, and that's why I use them. So thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope to continue this cheap versus expensive series. Let me know what else you want me to try. I'm still trying to get my hands on the new Ryobi detailing pressure washer to see how that thing is. Heard nothing but amazing things about it, especially for the price, you know, very similar to this situation over here. Let me know what else you want to see, cheap versus expensive, and we'll see you in another one soon. Bye-bye.